Could South Korean President Yoon be impeached over martial law decree? Calls are growing for South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's ouster after he declared then rescinded martial law. Here's how an impeachment would work. South Korean lawmakers on Wednesday called for the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol after he declared martial law only to reverse the move hours later, triggering the biggest political crisis in decades in Asia's fourth-largest economy. The surprise declaration late on Tuesday ignited a standoff with Parliament, which rejected his attempt to ban political activity and censor the media, as armed troops forced their way into the National Assembly building in Seoul. News wires around the world went to work, and South Korea's first declaration of martial law in over 40 years made headlines globally within an hour. Then, almost as quickly as it started, the initial fracas was starting to wind down. Local South Korean news agency Oh Yonhap late on December 3 and into the early hours of December 4 revealed that politicians in both the ruling People Power Party (PPP) and the main opposition Democratic Party were intent on quashing the president's efforts to put South Korea under military control. They did so within 2 hours of the first declaration, when 190 of 300 South Korean lawmakers gathered in an overnight sitting at the National Assembly to vote 190-0 for a lifting of the state of martial law. Legally, the lifting of a state of martial law in South Korea still needs the approval of the president. This came soon afterwards and has been followed by large demonstrations near the nation's government building. These demonstrations are expected to continue throughout the day. The question being asked all over Seoul and in cities across the nation of 52 million on the morning of December 4 is why, but also, and perhaps more importantly, what next? No obvious indications of threat have been forthcoming from across the border in North Korea in recent days, and a prominent Pyongyang watcher contacted by BNO IntelliNews is just as baffled as everyone else as to what took place in the past few hours. Some North Korea analysts are, however, now predicting possible moves by the North to take advantage of what will be perceived as political unrest of sorts south of the border. Neighboring China, Japan and Taiwan to the west, east and south respectively, have all sat watching events unfold overnight, no doubt equally bemused. Across the Pacific too, in Washington, D.C., the outgoing Biden government was also caught unaware. Back in Seoul, President Yoon will now face the immediate wrath of his political friends and foes in the coming hours, with around 40 lawmakers predicted to initiate impeachment proceedings early in the morning of December 4. This number is expected to rise as the day progresses. There have also been calls for an immediate resignation, according to sources in Korea. Yoon's party has been locked in an impasse with the liberal opposition over next year's budget bill. The opposition has also attempted to pass motions to impeach 3 top prosecutors, including the chief of the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office, in what the conservatives have called a vendetta against their criminal investigations of Lee, who has been seen as the favorite for the next presidential election in 2027 in opinion polls. During his televised announcement, Yoon also described the opposition as shameless pro-North Korean anti-state forces who are plundering the freedom and happiness of our citizens, but he did not elaborate. Yoon has taken a hard line on North Korea over its nuclear ambitions, departing from the policies of his liberal predecessor, Moon Jae-in, who pursued inter-Korean engagement. Yoon has also dismissed calls for independent investigations into scandals involving his wife and top officials, drawing quick, strong rebukes from his political rivals. Yoon's move was the first declaration of martial law since the country's democratization in 1987. The country's last previous martial law was in October 1979, following the assassination of former military dictator Park Chung-hee.